So Fedora 30 recently came out, and along with it, a lot of new features actually made their way into the latest Fedora release. And one of the most important features alongside the revamped, improved GNOME 3.32 desktop environment is something that they called flicker-free boot. Now, on Linux, the whole boot experience on practically any computer or laptop that you have isn't one of the prettiest. Never has been, actually. You always see some scrolling text, and that's actually gibberish for most people. So in time, more consumer-oriented distributions like Ubuntu and even Fedora actually started working on something called Plymouth. Plymouth is basically a boot animation for Linux, so it's very customizable. You can basically set whatever boot animation you want, and you can make your own, of course. But the nice thing about Plymouth is that it allows to have something graphical in place of the old-style scrolling text boot up sequence. So today I want to run an experiment with you. I want to install Plymouth on an Arch-based system and see if we can get that flicker-free, smooth booting experience that you get apparently on Fedora 30. And, well, I guess some other distros depending on the hardware. So I actually already tried this on a virtual machine by myself, and I wrote this very simple documentation on GitLab. I will probably mirror it on my website and put a link in the description for you to follow along. A couple of notes before we begin. So if you're not an experienced user, you are probably going to break your machine at some point during this tutorial. So first thing, run a backup. Backups are very important, and especially if you don't know how to undo what you're doing right now, and if you're not familiar with command line and restoring your system from chroot, I really suggest you make a backup. So make a backup anyway. It will be really useful, and if you can, don't try this on any actual production machine. Try this on some burner machine and see if that works. Maybe try it in a VM. And if that works and if you're satisfied with the setup, if you think it's worth the effort, you can try it on real hardware. But again, be careful. So we're going to try this on this laptop over here. This is the Starter Laptop Mark III. And the reason I'm not trying it on the desktop computer that I have is that I have an NVIDIA GPU in it. And historically, Plymouth hasn't been very friendly towards NVIDIA GPUs. And since this is the main machine that I use day to day, well, this is the main laptop that I use day to day. So anyway, but I think this is more important. This is far easier to break, so I'm gonna try it on the laptop, and if anything goes wrong, I know how to go back, and even if I have to reinstall, it's not so much traumatic to reinstall my laptop than it is on my desktop machine. So once you have done your backups and once you're sure you want to follow along, the first thing that I really suggest you to do is run a system update. Arch is very sensitive to system updates, and if you install anything else, especially if you're fiddling with system low-level stuff, you really want to be on the latest version of your operating system. So do a full system update, including AUR packages if you use them, and then reboot your machines if everything works. So we're going to do that right now because I haven't touched this laptop in a while. So the first thing you need to do is run a system update. So you just open up your terminal and write sudo pacman -syu. Alright, so we have updated the system. If you're using some AUR packages, you probably want to update your AUR packages as well. So just going to run, I'm using an AUR helper called Yay. It's Y-A-Y. So it's really simple. You just write Yay SYU. Alright, so we finally updated the system. Now we can go ahead and reboot it. So the laptop is rebooting. Now on this laptop I have an encryption setup. So as you see here, it's asking for a password. This is an encrypted setup. And one of the things that we're going to do installing Plymouth is getting rid of this text prompt and getting an actual user interface for typing in our password. It's gonna boot up, and it's important to reboot your system because, again, nothing should break really, but if something does break, you want to make sure that it's because of what we've been doing here and not because of something else that's been going on with your update. So update, reboot, and then come back here. And then we can just open up a terminal again. And so according to the tutorial that I put up online, and again, I will put the link in the description for this, the first thing we need to do is install something from the AUR. So most of this information is actually from the Arch Wiki. I just synthesized it and basically made sure that everything that I wrote is just like the essential steps that you need to follow. So you can just run yay. I'm using yay, so I can just use that. If you're using any other AUR helper, you can use that, or if you prefer, you can use like the AUR manually, but I don't really suggest you to do that because you want to keep these packages up to date, and to do that, an AUR helper is really the best option. Again, yay is one AUR helper that I really suggest you use. There are others out there that are actually still actively developed, so it's your choice at the end of the day. This is just my suggestion. So yay dash capital S Plymouth dash git and GDM dash Plymouth. And that should be pretty much it. So while I'm installing this, I actually sent this very document here that I'm following to the Destination Linux Telegram group. So and Ryan seemed very interested to follow along with this guide, and I asked him to make a video about it. So Ryan, if you're watching this, apparently you're not fast enough, so I just really wanted to experiment this on real hardware. So here I'm doing it on this laptop here, but feel free to make your own video about it, and I'm really curious to see how it does on like your AMD cards, and even if you have like some AMD laptops. I think you have like the Huawei Ultrabook that you can test this very setup on. I'd be very curious to see that. So I'll be waiting for it, and I'm very curious to see how this method works on different hardware. And if you're not Ryan and you're watching this, I'll be sure to put a link to Ryan's channel, Das Geek, in the description. He's a very awesome guy. He's a computer nerd and a Linux enthusiast, and he's also one of the hosts of the Destination Linux podcast. So I will put the link to the Destination Linux podcast in the description as well. So make sure to check those out. I should probably get into some detail about the setup of this particular laptop here, because this is an encrypted setup, but there is no one single way of doing an encrypted setup, and it could change what you need to do here depending on what kind of cryptographic setup you have in place. So what I have here is I have an unencrypted boot partition that contains the kernel and the bootloader and everything like that, and the EFI, and that's FAT32. That's like the boot partition where actually boot the system. And then I have another partition that is an LVM partition, a logical volume management partition, and inside of that I have 2 volumes. So this LVM is actually looks to encrypted, and then inside the encrypted LVM partition I have 2 volumes, one for the root partition of my system and one other for the home partition of my system. As for swap, I have a swap file, and that is encrypted as well because it's on the disk inside the home volume inside the encrypted partition. So this is the setup that I have in place, and if you have a similar setup, so if you have like the encrypted LVM volume and then inside of that you have the volumes for your actual partitions, then I think that's probably good, and you can just follow verbatim what I'm doing here. But if you have a different setup, please refrain, and it's better if you go read the Plymouth Arch Wiki entry. There's a link in the article that I wrote, so make sure to follow that if your cryptographic setup is different. Also, these kind of things tend to change quite fast. So if you're seeing this video some time from now, please be careful, because I don't know if this exact procedure will be the same like, I don't know, 1 year from now. So just a heads up there. So now that the packages we're trying to install are finally built, we have some prompts here. So it wants to replace libgdm with libgdm Plymouth. That's expected. We just gonna say yes to that. And same thing for GDM and GDM Plymouth. It wants to replace GDM with GDM Plymouth. We're gonna say yes. As for the next steps we need to follow, we have to do some modifications to the mkinit cpio configuration file. So just tag along. I'm gonna show you what to do. So we just open up /etc/mkinitcpio.conf with our favorite text editor. I happen to be using Vim here. Then we need to go to the hooks list or array or whatever you want to call that. And then just right after base udev here, let me just... Okay, so it should be around line 52. Just after base udev, you need to put Plymouth in. Then, since the installation is encrypted again, check for your cryptographic setup. If it's similar to mine, just follow along. If it's not, read the Arch Wiki. So again, in the hooks list or array, we look for encrypt, and we just add Plymouth dash, and so we have Plymouth dash encrypt instead of just plain encrypt. Next thing we need to do is we need to add i915 to the modules array. And if you're using an Intel GPU, that's i915. If you're using a KVM/QEMU virtual machine, then you need to use QXL. And I'm not sure about other GPUs. I'm not sure if it even works in NVIDIA at all. I'm not sure what you need to put in for AMD GPUs. That there should be a way, just you need to know what the name of the actual kernel module is. So for Intel GPUs, it's i915, and that's what I'm going to put in. So I just scroll up to modules, and here just before LZ4 and LZ4 compressed, and it's maybe you don't even have these, because these are configuration that I made to actually compress the boot image with LZ4, so your modules array may be empty, and that's completely fine. You just need to put in your driver module name, like right before anything else that's in modules, and you should be good to go, I think. Yeah, we're good to go. As for the mkinit cpio.conf is concerned. So next thing we need to do is we need to edit our bootloader configuration. Now, I am using systemd boot. It's probably very similar if you're using grub. I don't know if it's gonna work as well with grub. I mean, well, your mileage may vary, but we're gonna use systemd boot for this. So I'm just gonna, again, sudo vim, and then we're gonna go to /boot/loader /entries, and my particular entry, which is arch.conf. And like right after the RW, like in the options row of your bootloader configuration, I have already two options that are read, write, quiet, and then after that we're gonna add some other options. So we need to add these options here that I put in the article. And I already have quiet here, so I'm just gonna skip that, and we're gonna add splash log level equals 3 and rd.udev.log underscore priority equals 3, and then vt.global underscore cursor underscore default equals 1, and that should be really it. I'm gonna just write and quit. Now we just need to run two really simple commands here. So the first thing is we need to disable GDM. So it's sudo systemctl disable GDM, and in place of that we need to enable GDM-Plymouth .service, or without .service, it's the same thing. So I just leave .service out. You can leave .service in if you want. It's actually the same thing. So just enable GDM Plymouth, and the last thing we need to do is run sudo mk-init cpio -p, and then the kernel that you have installed in your system. I just have the mainline upstream Arch Linux kernel installed in this laptop, so I'm just gonna write Linux. If you were using, like, for instance, Linux LTS, you just need to write Linux-LTS. But if you actually installed Arch from the command line, you probably know that already. So there's that. I'm going to run this command here. And, well, I hope everything works. There we go. It's done. So let me just stop the OBS recording here. All right. Now, hopefully everything is in place, and when I reboot this machine, you're gonna see the graphical boot up process, and hopefully it's failure-free, just like in Fedora. Okay, we're just gonna reboot here, and hopefully everything works. Hey, we have some graphics. And it's asking for a password graphically. Alright. Okay, let me just show you. If I just put in any characters, it's actually gonna show like these blank dots here instead of showing nothing. So it's really cool. Let me just put in the password. And it's showing a spinner. That's something. It faded away. It's probably gonna boot GDM right away. There we go. That's GDM. Everything works. That's great. Let's see what happens if we reboot here, because we should see an animation as well. Just restart. We see the actual boot logo in the reboot phase. That's awesome. And we see the boot logo here. This is still, I guess this is still the BIOS. And then the screen goes blank, so it's not really flicker-free, probably because it's asking for the cryptographic password. I think that if we change the theme here of Plymouth, it should be different. It should still keep the logo here, maybe ask the password for the password like on the bottom here. I don't know, we're gonna experiment with that. Still, spinner showing, nothing showing here. This probably should contain like the actual logo of the company, or the firmware or BIOS logo, whatever you want to call it. Now, I'm just going to pause the video right here, have a look at the different Plymouth themes, and see if I can keep the actual company or firmware logo in during the boot up sequence. So let's see you in a moment. And we're back. After a quick research, I found the location of the actual Plymouth themes. And I found this one called BGRT. If you just cat the actual thing itself, that is a just a text file. So I just run cat on it to see its content, and it says in the description, Gmax spinner theme using the ACPI BGRT graphics as background. So this should be what we're looking for, and we just need to set this theme now as our Plymouth theme. So it should be a matter of sudo vim etc plymouthd.conf. Let me just make text bigger here. There we go. It's a very simple configuration file. Instead of spinner, we just need to put in, oh, I forgot the name. It's called BGRT. So it should be all lowercase, BGRT. We'll just write and quit, and let's see if that works. Still not flicker free. We put in the password, and we don't see any actual logo here. So, oh, I pressed the button. Whatever, I pressed the button, the animation went away. It's not big deal. Let's just try to reboot again. We see the logo here. Some flickering going on, but I don't know. Logo again. Come on. It's a little bit slower compared to not using Plymouth. So if that's any concern to you that it's a bit slower to like boot up, maybe don't use Plymouth. No logo again, just a spinner down here, but we still don't have the logo. The spinner faded, and now we should get GDM. There we go. So that's kind of disappointing. Just a quick note, I just forgot to mention that this whole thing that I'm doing, it should just work if you're using UEFI. So if you're using BIOS or compatibility mode or legacy mode, it probably won't work, so just be aware of that. And with that said, I think this is gonna wrap it up for this video. So guys, thank you very much for watching, I really appreciate it. If you like this video, please make sure to press the thumbs up button down there. And also remember to subscribe to my channel if you want more of this. Again, check out Das Geek channel, link in the description. He will probably do a follow-up to this video. I really hope he does. If you're watching Ryan, please do a follow-up on this video. Try to make the whole thing flicker-free, maybe on one of your machines. It will work. I don't know. It's a fun experiment, and we kind of know how Fedora kind of implemented this flicker-free boot thing with Plymouth, so it's also a learning experience. So make sure to check out the TechPills website at techpills.technology. You will find probably this very article detailing how to install this very setup. Link will be in the description. And make sure also to join the awesome TechPills community at techpills.technology/community. You'll find all the links in the description. Again, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.